Welcome into room 442. Happy Monday, everyone. Sarah Pararia joining you with Michael Singh. Mikey, what a weekend it was for football. I feel like I do say that actually quite a bit, but this weekend was just crazy across all countries, all leagues.
Yeah, across the world.
Yeah.
It felt like there was headlines popping up left, right, and center. And yeah, like you said, there's some insane stories that we're going to get to.
Yeah, no. So we're going to cover some headlines from the weekend that caught our attention. I'm sure we could probably give you guys 10 at this point. But we're going to try and cover the biggest stories, or the biggest stories that we at least thought. So my headline, obviously, we have to start in Spain. It was the late game on Sunday, El Clásico, the biggest match in football. Barcelona beats Real Madrid at the Camp Nou, going 12 points clear in La Liga. Mikey, we spoke about this game. Also, just sorry, I have to say this photo is lovely. After the Frank Kessie last-minute goal, and they're all just jumping on him. The fans are getting involved. Absolutely beautiful. Not as nice for Vinny Jr., unfortunately. But, we spoke about if Barcelona were to win this game.
Yeah.
Is it kind of sealing La Liga? And it feels like that. And it felt like that for not only the team, but the fans too. The city afterwards was exploding like they had won the La Liga trophy.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, 12 points clear with only 12 games remaining? This one's a wrap, and that's why you saw the game play out the way that it did. Real Madrid was throwing everything at it towards the end of the game, and I think that's what kind of opened the game up a little bit for Kessie to go on and score that late winner, which obviously, like you said, sent Camp Nou into a frenzy. So good vibes there at Barcelona. I guess bigger picture, though, like what does this mean, right? You go on, you go get La Liga title. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're going to go get Copa del Rey as well. Mm-hmm. We'll see. There's still a big matchup once again with Real Madrid coming up. What does this mean for Barcelona?
Well, I mean, listen, if they come out of this season, Xavi's first full season with the club, obviously there's still a lot of issues going on behind closed doors with how much money they're still in debt, the whole refereeing controversy from 2018. But going and winning the league and the cup, I think, is a really good result for them. The issue has always been Europe for the last couple of years, and they need to focus on that. But if they can stay consistent domestically, I still think that's really crucial, especially for bringing new players in, if they're going to sell players and how that's going to go. You still want the club to win trophies and also seem like a aspiring club for other players to join.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's my biggest question. Like, how far away are Barcelona from being back? Because as you mentioned, there's still some sporting sanctions that they're dealing with financially. Can they actually bring in more investments, like more players this summer? We don't really know what's going on with the books. How far away do you think is Barcelona from being back? Because this is a big statement, beating Real Madrid, who obviously are the defending UEFA Champions League winners.
Beating Real Madrid 3 times in 1 year. The only other coach to do that, Pep Guardiola. But they have one left, right? We spoke about that. But it definitely does put a good taste in your mouth when you do think of Barcelona. The football hasn't been as pretty, I would say, as we're used to seeing the, tiki-taka, but they are playing super pragmatically and they are getting the job done. So I think it shows that they're still a competitive club, a strong club, and that's what the players and the coach, that's what they need to focus on. Whatever is going on upstairs, they can't really do much about that, right?
Yeah,
so, I mean, you got to win, and I think that's as much as they can do. And it's great, like Xavi's first full season. If he wins 2, I'd say that's successful.
Yeah, you can't really argue that, right?
Yeah, we'll see, though. Heading on to your first headline, though. Sorry, I also missed my headline completely. Barcelona's 100th El Clásico win is sure to decide the La Liga race as Real Madrid are left to regroup. Just mentioning a quick 100th El Clásico win.
Ooh.
Yes, but we'll head to another cup in England. Mitro madness. Fulham striker Mitrovic should get 10-game ban for elbowing ref. We cannot have this in football, says Halsey. This was so
insane.
It was insane, but I felt it was so unfortunate for Fulham. I think that's where my attention was drawn when I was watching this match, because they were up. They could have won the game. They were really pressing United. And then, okay, Willian, it's a red, I understand, but also I kind of give him some forgiveness because when it's such a tight game, you're kind of just getting in there and you might be stopping the ball illegally. That I feel like is not as intentional as, of course, then what Mitrovic goes and do. You see that your teammate has just gotten a red. You know your team is down to 10 men with about 30 minutes still left in the game.
The game's still there.
Ton of game to play, and then you go and elbow the ref. No.
Now, I don't know what he was thinking there, because as you mentioned, so if he missed the play, obviously Willian got sent off for a handball in the box. It was maybe intentional, maybe it was just reaction, but regardless, if you're preventing a goal there, it's an automatic red card. So the referee missed that initially, and I understand why. With play is happening really quickly, even me watching it, I'm like, was that his body? Was that his hand?
Totally.
I wasn't too sure. But then video review got called into play, and while the video review is going on, Marco Silva, Fulham boss, he gets sent off too for some sort of remarks he was making towards the referee. So you have a red card there on the sidelines, and I think that sort of almost set the tempo for Mitrovic to come in and do what he did, which of course was, as the referee is showing a red card to Willian Mitrovic, who, he's known for his attitude, let's say. He's known to be, teetering a fine line at times. And he goes and he gets in the referee's face. It could have been worse, but yeah, people are calling for a more severe ban. And I think the FA is actually appealing for that. Right now, he's a 3-game suspension. But, historically, you've seen incidents like this be given 5-6 games. There was one all the way back, I think it was, I want to say 1996, where someone got 11 games, but he actually pushed the referee to the ground.
Yeah.
So I think this is a little bit less than that. But as you mentioned, the moment that it happened, that changed the game. Fulham's up 1-0. They're leading. Who knows what happens with the penalty? Who knows? You're not sure if Bruno Fernandes is going to find the back of the net with it. Even if he does, it's 1-1. You're 20 minutes away from booking your spot to Wembley. But now, not only do you hurt Fulham in that game, Mitrovic is obviously one of their most important players. You hurt Fulham, moving forward. So it's a big suspension.
And we obviously know, speaking about this last week and just that fight for kind of 6th, 7th place, all of that, even 4th. We spoke about Fulham potentially, being in European contention. And now, like you mentioned, losing their best player. I completely agree. He wasn't thinking at all. Listen, I get when you're playing football, you're heated and it's in the moment, and you're seeing, okay, they're probably going to send one of my fellow teammates off, and it's going to convert to a penalty, and then my coach is going off. But if I'm reacting like that, it's not going to do any good, especially to an official. It's the one person on the pitch you are not supposed to touch. We see players get into it with each other. A lot of the time, refs are just we get it, they're opponents, but the referee, don't get near him. And I think he's probably, sitting at home thinking, what have I done?
I also don't get the reaction. It's video review. He's clearly looking at a replay that someone told him that he needs to go watch. So it's not like it's an on-field decision. This is him getting a 3rd, 4th, 5th look at the play. Is Mitrovic saying I had a better look at the play from standing at center field because he's a striker than the referee who just went to the monitor? I don't understand why he's getting so upset at the referee for checking a call and then making the correct decision. It doesn't make any sense.
I do wonder if it was more because of Marco Silva getting sent off than the whole Willian. I do think that's probably what happened because, as I said, he probably knew what was going to happen with Willian, but then he sees his coach go, and it's just and you know how big of the game, a big of a game it was. We're talking FA Cup semifinal against United, but I'm just looking at the Fulham calendar here, and they have to play Bournemouth, West Ham, and Everton are the next 3 games, which are, to be honest,
games you don't mind missing.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And then they have Leeds, Villa, and City. If he were to get 10, he'd miss a game against City and United. But the rest are lower level teams. I see Southampton, Leicester. But, sorry, if he also gets 10, I'm just realizing now he's missing the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's not actually going to get 10. I think that was someone just being a little bit blasphemous, saying he deserves a harsher punishment. But we'll see exactly what the punishment is. I'm thinking maybe 4 or 5. Casemiro got 4 for his red card, but it was his second red card of the season.
Yeah.
Right? Mitrovic right now is only on 3. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Also, just looking at that, only 10 games left in the Prem, eh? It's
Winding
flying
down.
by. All right, another Prem team. Let's talk about Tottenham Hotspur and Mr. Antonio Conte. My headline is Tottenham's players left stunned by Antonio Conte's extraordinary rant, with several wanting Daniel Levy to sack him now, amid realization that he will not be at the club beyond the summer. So Tottenham obviously played Southampton over the weekend. They were up 3-1, then conceded 2 goals. The game ended 3-3. We're talking bottom of the table, Southampton. You called this.
Called it. I was on fire with my bets this week, by the way.
Yeah,
3 for 3. Let's go.
Great. I can't say that I was. Leeds and Wolves, man. But yeah, no, I mean, it was.
They took the 3-1 lead, right?
Yeah.
And then bottled it. Absolutely
but like
bottled
the goals from Southampton were also
Theo
messy.
Walcott scored his first goal in like 3 years.
I forgot Theo Walcott played football. Like, it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, like, welcome back to the game. It was honestly, it was just miserable. And I feel like we say this so much with Spurs, but they should be doing better with the team they have. Am I saying they're going to go and win the Prem or the Champions League or even FA Cup? No, but you should not be losing to teams like Southampton when you have arguably the best striker in England, maybe the best Korean footballer ever. You know, Romero's won a World Cup. Like, we're talking about decent players.
Yeah.
So Antonio Conte comes out after the match, press conference, absolutely fuming. Take a look at a bit of what he said.
I don't know, because they are used here. They're used here. Don't play for something important. Yeah. And they don't play. They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Yeah, it's easy in this way. And Tottenham story is this: 20 years that there is the owner and never won something.
I mean, really calling out the club there. I know he also called out Daniel Levy as well, owner of Spurs, but he came out on Sunday and said, no, that wasn't the case. He's really trying to direct all his attention on the footballers. But at the same time, he's saying, you know, Tottenham hasn't won anything in 20 years. These footballers haven't been there for 20 years. You know, like, this is a whole different team. He also went on and said, you know, how can we fight with this spirit, with this attitude? What are we fighting for? 7th, 8th place? Like, if I'm a Spurs fan, I'm sick of it at this point.
Oh, so over it. And that's a manager right there who, you know, has already made his mind up. Mm-hmm. He does not care about the club anymore. He cares about saving face for himself, and he cares about moving on beyond this season. Tottenham right now are currently in a Champions League spot. I know they have a couple games in hand on Newcastle, they've played 2 more games than Newcastle have. They're 2 points ahead of Newcastle right now. But this is a team right now who has the ability to still go on a run here and book their spot in the Champions League.
For sure.
So for Conte to come out and call out, I think he did call it ownership, and I think he was backpedaling a little bit. Mm-hmm. But ownership, players, there's no coming back from this. He is gone, and I wouldn't be surprised as by the time people are watching this or listening to this, that he's no longer Spurs manager, because you've absolutely lost your dressing room there. You've lost maybe some trust from the ownership. The only way I can see Conte staying on is if Spurs ownership believes that they can't bring in somebody right now that can help them salvage a potential Champions League spot here. But they do have guys. Yeah. Maybe a Pochettino. Maybe, who knows, Thomas Tuchel is out there. Mm-hmm. Rafa Benitez maybe as a guy who can save you for the rest of the season. There are names out there that Spurs can turn to. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the sack sooner rather than later.
Okay, let me ask you, do you think that this was an intentional move by Conte to actually look for the sack because he is also completely checked out of Tottenham and no longer wants to be there? Because some people are wondering if it's a strategic move.
No, we've seen Conte do this at every single club he's been at. At a certain point, he gets frustrated with whatever reason. Typically, it's with maybe ownership and the investment and the backing that he's getting. But he's gotten that backing here at Tottenham. The one thing that hasn't come with this Antonio Conte has been success and we've seen him get success elsewhere. So I think he's so frustrated at this point that if he's not playing for trophies, he's over it and already has his eye looking at another job potentially elsewhere.
I feel like I see him going back to Italy for sure. But so the consensus from you is that we will not be seeing Antonio Conte at Spurs coming back from the international break?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Unless something miraculous has happened, you can't tell me that players listening to that still have faith in this coach.
No chance. No chance. All right, for the final headline, Mikey's last headline, feeling great. Arsenal 4, Crystal Palace 1. Bukayo Saka fires Gunners 8 points clear of Man City in title race with superb double. That's right, Bukayo Saka scored 2 goals over the weekend, with Martinelli and Xhaka getting on the board there as well. Crystal Palace managed to get 1 in, but they are 8 points clear. 1 game in hand, let's keep that in mind. But absolutely brilliant from Arteta and Arsenal and Bukayo Saka, especially after getting the knock. Sporting Lisbon in the Europa Cup. Is there anything that is telling you that these guys aren't going to win the Prem?
It was a big response at this point right now for Arsenal. As you mentioned, Sporting, they had a really tough outcome, and then they face a Crystal Palace team that just sacked their manager, and you never know what kind of response you get out of Crystal Palace. And I know they had an injury in warm-up, so they were a little bit deflated already heading into this one, but no, it's another statement win for Arsenal. They're winning the games that they're supposed to win. And, I was going to go with Erling Haaland as my headline for this one. But I'm like, man, we talk about Erling Haaland almost every week. We got to start showing Arsenal some love, because I did not think with 10 games remaining in the Premier League season that we would be at this point where we're talking about Arsenal being 8 points clear of Manchester City. It is quite remarkable. I will say that they have one of the toughest schedules remaining in the Premier League. A lot of their games, especially against big teams, are going to be away from the Emirates. Exactly. While Manchester City actually have one of the easiest schedules down the stretch.
Yeah.
So I still think it is still a race, but at this point in the season, I still need to give Arsenal credit for what they did. And I look at that first goal over the weekend, and Palace is looking a little bit deflated, but Martinelli, his ability to cut on his left and fire across his body, and that have the confidence to have that finish. That's the way that Arteta has his side balling out right now.
I mean, the pass from Saka as well, like brilliant football. And you know what? I agree with you. I think I went into this season hoping for Arsenal to win, but I didn't expect them to play such good football. And I think that's the thing, is every week we keep thinking, all right, Arsenal are going to hit this dip. They're going to, go through some trouble. They did a bit at the end of January there, but it wasn't to the point where it was that, concerning, and it didn't affect them that much. Okay, sure, they're out of the Europa League, but if they win the Prem, I don't think they're going to bat an eyelash over that.
No,
this is what they want, and they haven't won it for so long. I completely agree. Arsenal deserve all the credit. They are playing brilliant football. And you know what? Yeah, they're playing Liverpool away, City away. They're having Chelsea at the Emirates. But you know what? They're not giving me a reason to not trust them. So let's go. Gunners all the way. I have full faith in them. And I guess we'll just see if they can keep this up, but they haven't shown us any reason that they can't.
That's the thing, right? I keep waiting for them to fall off even slightly. And even when they have that little bit of a bump in the road, they just find a way to keep on rolling, keep on going, picking up wins in games they absolutely need to win. And that's what they're doing.
Also, really quickly, credit to Bukayo Saka, because I feel like a lot of the time he kind of gets slipped under the rug a little bit there, but he is such a fantastic football player. His technical ability is unmatched. He has 10 assists this season with 13 goals. Like, this
There's
guy
only
is
4 other players who have 10 goals and 10 assists in the world right
there
now.
you go. So, I mean, I think because Marcus Rashford has also really been on fire of late, that with the young English footballers, we compare them to one another. But no, Bukayo Saka is in fantastic form. And
in his own right. Yeah, for sure. And Arteta was actually asked after the game if Bukayo Saka is the best player right now in the Premier League. He kind of scoffed at the answer and was a little bit coy in his response. He didn't say Saka was the best. He just essentially complimented the team as a whole. So it was a question he avoided, but people are starting to have those conversations of whether Bukayo Saka deserves more more love than he's getting right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, just quickly comparing him to, let's say, Rashford, or even, okay, let's say Erling Haaland. We know Erling Haaland can score all these fantastic goals. Striking-wise, his ability is unmatched, but I think Bukayo Saka, between the three of them, is the most technical. Like, I think he's much more technical than Rashford. I think it's a matter of whether he's going to continue this form and get better and continue to keep scoring. But I think he has this playmaking ability as well as being able to score that I think is just, it's brilliant.
And he's got
it's
that
brilliant.
left foot too, right? It's a little bit different than your traditional stars that you see. Anytime I have a little bit more appreciation for lefties. They're a rare breed, let's say.
Lionel Messi. All right, guys. Well, that was the weekend that was, and those are the headlines we chose. We are heading into an international break now. No league football for about 2 weeks, but we will get you covered with Canada football as they are kicking off March 25th.